Thanks for joining us here at Anathan. Just before we get started on today's message, I want to make sure you know how to get even more content and encouragement from the Anathan team. Anathan content is created to facilitate you becoming one of the most influential spiritual leaders in the world. So whether it's teaching and worship resources, leadership resources, or how to plug into a microchurch, or even connect through Anathan Biz Solutions, Anathan's YouChurch app has all of this great content and more. So download your free YouChurch app on either the Apple App Store, Google Play, Apple TV, or Roku. Also, towards the end of this video, you'll be encouraged to give towards the global move of Anathan. Would you please pray and consider this? Because it's through the generous donations from people such as yourself who help keep all of this amazing content free for others. So get ready now to engage in this week's message as God takes you further and deeper into encounters with His always perfect love for greater impact, because He wants to love the world through you.
Hi and welcome back. This is the second session in our series, Why Worship? I'm really glad you could join me in exploring the question, who, or in some cases, possibly what, do we worship? And why does it matter? In our last session together, we looked at the questions, what is worship? And why are humans made with the desire to worship? The definition that we worked off last time was that worship is the reverent honor and homage paid to God or a sacred personage, or to any object regarded as sacred, or to feel an adoring reverence or regard for any person or thing. Those things that we honor, venerate, revere, glorify, or idolize are often the recipients of our worship. Humans need and desire to worship something because we're made in the image of a God who worships and who invites us into that sacred relationship of worship. So the question, who do we worship, may seem like a bit of a no-brainer for some of you. Well, of course we worship God, but do we always? And do we really? Remember our verse from the last session in Exodus, where we looked at the first of the 10 commandments in chapter 20 and verses 3 and 4. God tells the Israelites, do not have any other gods before me. Do not make an idol for yourself, whether in the shape of anything in the heavens above, or in the earth below, or in the waters under the earth. You must not bow down to them or worship them, for I am a jealous God. This was the very first thing God said. I want the full attention of your hearts. Don't divide your loyalties. But when Moses came down from the mountain with these commandments in hand, what did he find the people doing? In Exodus chapter 32, we read that the people were impatient that Moses was taking so long up the mountain with God, and they approached Aaron saying, make us a god that will go before us, because this Moses fellow is taking too long, and we don't even know what's happened to him. So Aaron told them to bring all their gold jewelry, and he made the golden calf. Just in case you were questioning that humanity has an inbuilt need to worship something, let's just take a moment to unpack this. These people all were witness to the plagues in Egypt. They all took part in the first Passover and saw the miracle of their departure from that land. They all saw the mighty hand of God part the Red Sea, and every single one of them crossed over on the dry land that was the bottom of that sea. They all stood and watched God close the waters over the heads of the Egyptians that pursued them, and they celebrated the event with songs and feasting. Now, merely weeks later, they've forgotten all of these things and are begging Aaron to make them a god to go before them, which he did. And then they feasted and partied and worshipped the golden calf. So you have to ask the question, why? Why, after seeing the glory of God over the mountain, after hearing the thunder of his voice when he spoke to Moses and gave him the 10 Commandments, after seeing the might and power of God over the Egyptians, Why would they so quickly turn their backs on God and worship something else? I believe that the answer to that question then is the same as the answer to that question now. Even those of us who have followed God diligently for many years can quickly forget all the miracles and wondrous things that He has done on our behalf, and we turn the attention of our hearts to something else in order to find some measure of comfort and meaning in life. We do this because we do not know who we are. We forget in whose image we are created. We forget about God because we forget who He is. And so we try to fill the void that's left by our lack of understanding with anything that will bring even temporary pleasure and fulfillment. What takes the attention of your heart in these moments? Is it work, family, health, friends, your house, your car, your boat, your bike, material possessions, escape through fiction or fantasy, our pets, our hobbies? All of these things, if we allow them to, can take the attention of our hearts away from knowing the God in whose image we are made. I don't know about you, but I am most susceptible to this on those days when I have forgotten who I am. You see, it's a question of identity. The children of Israel at the foot of Mount Sinai did not know their identity. They still thought of themselves as slaves. They still looked at their circumstances through the lens of slavery. And because of this, they still needed, or thought they needed, someone or something to take them by the hand and lead them. And in the absence of Moses, and not yet knowing God, they turned to a man-made version of what they thought they needed. The attention of our heart will always be given to something or someone. This is why it matters who or what we worship. If we're not intentional about where we direct that attention, it will land on whatever brings us comfort in the moment. The Bible calls this practice idolatry, giving the reverence, adoration, and regard of our hearts to anything other than God. Later on in the story of the children of Israel, in Deuteronomy chapters 6 and verse 4 to 9, Moses gives the Israelites this command: "Listen, Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your strength." These words that I am giving you today are to be in your heart. Repeat them to your children. Talk about them when you sit in your house and when you walk along the road, when you lie down and when you get up. Bind them as a sign on your hand and as a symbol on your forehead. Write them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates. In other words, Moses built into this command, or God built into this command, the means by which the Israelites could remember who they were and who God was to them. In following the commandment, they must forge a lifestyle of constantly remembering and therefore constantly directing the attention of their hearts towards God. Only by deliberately and consciously directing their thoughts and actions in this way could they worship God without compromise. Stay right where you are. I'll be right back with your activation questions in just a few moments. Thank you so much for checking out our giving page.
One of the very great honours we have as God's people is to give. Our God is a generous God, and if we are to bear His image upon the earth, it makes sense that we would be a generous people. God's people should be known for their generosity in giving.
Yes, indeed. And at Anathan, our giving goes towards building people and not buildings. Every expense we incur goes towards reaching the people in your world, the ones you love and pray for on a daily basis.
So we have made giving easy. When you click on the giving link below, you'll be taken to our online giving portal. There'll be one for US taxpayers and a separate one for other nations. Then just follow the prompts to make your donation today.
As always, our prayer for you is that you will grow further and deeper in your relationship with our always good God for greater impact on His kingdom.
Remember, He wants to love the world through you.
So, to summarize the points we've covered in this session, we've asked the questions who, or in some cases what, do we worship and why does it matter? And we have discovered that we worship whoever or whatever gets the attention of our hearts. If the attention of our heart is not directed toward God, we will give it to whatever brings comfort or meaning in the moment. This is what the Bible calls idolatry, and it only brings heartache and destruction if the worship of our heart is misplaced. In your microchurches, I would love for you to discuss one or more of these following questions. Where is the attention of your heart directed when it is not directed toward God? When are you most likely to direct the attention of your heart to something other than God? What are some ways you can think of to remind yourself of who you are and who God is? Are there any lifestyle changes you need to instigate to make this possible? Do you find it easy or difficult to direct the attention, reverence, adoration, and regard of your heart towards God? Worship is a discipline. It is something that we must devote ourselves to doing. Who we worship matters. It matters deeply because if we are not worshipping God, we are worshipping something else. And if we want to represent God as His bride on this earth, the attention of our heart must be given to Him and to Him alone. This is how you will go further and deeper into encounters with His always perfect love. This is how you will have greater impact in the lives of the people around you. And this is how you can position yourselves for Him to love the world through you.
We pray this message today will take you to greater encounters with God's always perfect love. Also, I want to remind you to take a few moments to download your free YouChurch app on either Apple App Store, Google Play, Apple TV or Roku for much more content and powerful tools to help you become one of the most influential spiritual leaders in the world. Also, if you'd like to donate to Anathan, our giving links are listed below to help us keep this great content free for others. Here are this week's activations.